Hey guys, this is Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. If you're a cyclist and you want to go faster, then let's giddy up. Guys, welcome to another episode of Faster U4 brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, Biomaxa and Capital Cycles. Hey, we went bike racing on the weekends. It was really good. Let me tell you all about it. The North Island Team Series, brought to you by Trust House and Chilean Maniac George Sandoval, Team Time Trial and Road Race. Stage 1 went pretty good for Team FitLab. I'll tell you all about it in a sec. The good, the bad, and a little bit ugly. I'm going to tell you what I learned from that race. Quite a good one, this. Applies to all road races, really. I'm going to tell you what grinds my gears. And we're going to look forward to next week and what's happening. First off, let's have a look here for anyone who's watching the screen version. You can see the Team FitLab headed over the hill to Gladstone to race on the Millers Circuit. North Island Team Series 1. Team comprised of me, the guy that I work for, Andrew Jamison, Ben Copsey, Urian Gertz, and Lee Campbell. Andrew is in much better form this year. I think he's putting out at threshold probably 100 more watts than he did last year, which is quite a good percentage gain. Ben Copsey, who has not raced for I think 3 years, going back like a savage. I remember racing against Ben probably best part of 20 years ago. And we both had slightly less grey hair back then, and we're always very evenly matched, so it was good to have him on the team. Urian Gertz, he's had some good training, great TTer, and did very well. And Lee Campbell, who especially shaved certain parts of his anatomy, simply in preparation for aerodynamic gains on this day. So how do we go? Let's have a look at some numbers here. Why don't I bring up the team time trial? This did not go so well for Team FitLab. We didn't struggle too much for organisation. I just think we didn't have maybe as much firepower, so much horsepower as some of the teams. But we did what we could. We finished with a decent time. It was all the times are very close. Only a 12.5 KTT. We were a little down on numbers as well, which probably held us back a little. 17 minutes 31 seconds. Basically a flat course, more or less. Average 42.8 kilometers per hour. An average power from me, 329 watts. For an EP of 357 watts. Pretty strong. Heart rate 154, so sitting nicely there. That EP, very close to my threshold power on the flat. 99 RPM, relatively high. So if we look down at the data here, you can pretty clearly see where I'm coming through and taking my turns there. You can see the power is of course lower. In fact, it's interesting to look on the data like that. You can see where I'm on the back, and the drafting effect gets less and less as I get nearer the front, because of course that's what happens. And taking turns here. So here's an average turn, probably if I highlight that, about a minute at about 432 watts, getting us up to about close to 45k an hour for my turns, maybe a little over 46. So okay, team time trial, a good first hit out. That was a lot of fun, but it didn't really matter for the overall points or anything like that. So the one that mattered was the actual road race. So if we have a look down here, let's look at how that panned out. Now, I got a lot of shit for being on or near the front almost constantly in this race, and that is because, for a very good reason, which is that last year I made a huge newbie mistake, which is not covering a dangerous break very, very early, and I paid a lot for it, and I kept paying through the series because I couldn't recoup those points, and I was very aware of not letting that happen again. Probably overly cautious, but then again, first race is where it kind of shakes out a lot of the shape for the series, and even if I was using probably a little more energy than was ideal, I was wanting to reduce that risk as much as possible. That combined with the fact that they reduced the laps from 3 down to 2, which in my view is a little short, meant that I could not have to worry too much about that energy. 2 laps of the Miller circuit, 1 hour 31.05, so pretty short, 60.2 Ks. Last year we did 3, this year was only 2. The speed was up a little bit accordingly. We averaged 39.7, which on this course is pretty strong. There's some rollers and some okay climb in the middle of it. Average power, raw power 287 for an effective power of 332 around the whole thing. Average heart rate 151, working pretty hard. Average cadence 93, sitting nicely in the middle of my sweet spot. And we did have a sprint in this race, unfortunately for me. It's a bit inconvenient when an old time trialist has to actually produce more than about 700 watts. Managed to get out 1,093 watts momentarily, which is okay. It's not great. It was okay. How it played out was a lot of pressure and concern around the front from a lot of people. I could see roadworks sending a lot of guys to the front and working pretty hard. I'm not entirely sure why. I guess there wasn't a lot of crosswind particularly. They were keeping the pace high, doing a lot of work. I was sort of circulating amongst that, as were a few other guys. Kieran Allwood, I noticed, doing a lot of work. John Randall doing a lot of work. I think they just wanted to put pressure on the front in case no one chased and the break formed. And that was kind of why I was circulating around in that area so much. Probably first time up Millers was quite strong. If I zoom in here, you can see for the last sort of 2 minutes or so of that climb, just over 400 watts, 410 watts or so, 420 watts, so about VO2 max, which is sort of where you want to be. I was surprised at that pace we didn't drop anyone, although there was no much wind to speak of. The field was pretty strong. We may have dropped a few, but not many. In general, the field stayed pretty close together. Around into the last half of the first lap, first half of the second lap, there was some movement. I went away briefly with Brendan Airstrike McGrath to no avail. That was chased down. And I don't know what was happening back in the bunch, but I suspect the team who ultimately won was doing a lot of work to make sure that that wasn't going to go away. Team of Cycle Nation, I gather from Hawke's Bay, and eventual winner Nicholas Monroy, I suspect, was up near the front doing work to make sure boys from the south of the North Island were not going to go away, so good for them. Brendan Airstrike McGrath made a pretty strong attempt solo off the front over Millers, near before, really at the very bottom of Millers in the second lap. Stayed away by himself for about 10 Ks. maybe 5. He was kind of, I don't know what was going through his mind, but probably with the depth of the field there, he wasn't going to be allowed to go away, especially with no one with him. If some strong time trialists would have been with him, that might have been different, and some other representatives from other teams, but they weren't. So he was reeled in with about 5Ks to go. There was some pretty strong attacks from John Randall, Aaron Wood, guys like that over the last rollers in the last 4Ks or so. And again, the strength of the field was such that it was never really allowed to break up particularly much. I don't know whether the aforementioned Cycle Nation team was doing some work to bring it back. Coming into the final uphill stretch, the last 500 metres or so, things were getting a little fruity. You can see my heart rate accordingly spikes up a little bit there in the last 3 minutes or so. There was a bit of action on the side of the road. I understand there was some bike, some sweet or not sweet friction between bikes, maybe even crashes. There were certainly crashes in Master 2 coming into that final. I stayed in the top sort of 5 wheels or so. I knew that it was going to get a bit fruity. Stayed in the front. I wasn't particularly on anyone's wheel. I was kind of going from wheel to wheel, trying to avoid getting on the front. Sprint kind of opened in earnest with big unit from Roadworks really honking up the middle of the road. Don't know who that was exactly, but a lot of guys jumped on that wheel, including me, and at that stage it was kind of put your head down and try to judge your sprint for the last 50 to 100 metres. Not much of a head or tailwind, but a slight uphill drag, so everyone's leaving it a little late for the sprint. And that just shows you the quality of the field, I guess, is that everyone kind of knows those basic rules of tactics and common sense bike racing rules and tactics that give you the best possible chance in certain scenarios. So the field was pretty good. A lot of guys up the front, and when the sprint opened out kind of across the road with quite a short period to go, 40 metres or so, 50 metres, it was, I could see on my right, I was sprinting down the left, on my right was not 1, not 2, but 3 riders from Cycle Nation. A great lead out for Nicholas Monroy taking the win. I managed to get my ass far enough up there to snaffle a 4th, I believe, on the line, and took some points from a few guys that were a danger to me in the overall series. So, all in all, an okay day. I think the rest of the guys in FitLab were actually up there in sort of top 10. Certainly, we had Andrew Jamieson and Lee Campbell up there. Ben and Urian may have gone a little backwards at some point in the course. Potentially when the hit went down up Millers. So when full results are out, they should be posted up today, hopefully, and we'll see how the points situation really shakes out. All in all, I'll give that probably an 8 out of 10. I would have liked to have broken away with some guys and caused a bit of trouble for the sprinters. That didn't happen, and it's all part of the long-term game. Master 2 grade. By the way, these grades were pretty big. I mean, I think there was something like 150 riders in total, 145, 150, something like that. But the majority of those in Master 1 and 2, the open grade, the elite, were smaller. This much by like half the number of riders. So it's good to see the old farts coming out in force. Masters 2 in the road race. It was pretty cool. We had finished our Master 1 race and I was rolling down the road. Should I see FitLab rider Herb Buke like a savage off the front in the last K of the race, and he had that kind of look on his face which was like, it's all or nothing. When you know you have no option, because if you go back to the bunch now, you will be spat out, and you just got to put your head down, get aero, and get on those pedals. Hope Buke, like a savage, keeping it, sticking it over the line, hot in pursuit by one of the Mayo GP riders. Didn't catch him, taking a pretty good win and a brave win. Actually, he may have been away for quite a while, maybe half a lap, and that's the sort of brave riding that is that's great to see. I mean, it's surprising he was strong enough to stay away as he did, because you know, a single guy like that could be quite easily shut down. Strong guy, again, just shows you smallest rider, but kind of muscular and has good repeated power. Yeah, good example of my new little catchphrase, be brave. Congratulations, Hope Buke, taking the jersey, winning the first road race 2 years in a row. Total savage in the elite race. I couldn't tell much of what happened, but it looks like Anthony Nalder riding for Fighton Breedcraft Cottage Lane. A team with some very big dogs in it. Coming away with the win. Anthony has always been a very consistent, good rider, and I like racing against him. And he does a lot of work. And I don't know what happened, but I suspect people looked at his work rate and were too scared to follow his wheel. I know that feeling from a lot of races against Anthony Nalder. So congratulations, buddy. Good ride. And the team time trial, the Masters 1 grade, taken out by Roadworks in 16:53. Second was Rivet, 16:54. Good ride from them. Only 1 second off. Holy moly. Third, Cycle Nation, 17:13. So Rivet didn't do so well in the road race from what I could tell. They were pretty active and they were pretty strong. Guys like Matt Webber get up there doing work, being aggressive. Didn't kind of pay off in the end for them, and it's such a good way. Same thing with Roadworks. So they will be probably wanted to do a bit better in the next couple of races. Masters 2, taking out the 10 time trial. Optimal Performance, really good drilled team of Savages in 13:13. One of the better riders in that team, my man, FitLab rider, Stephen Atu O'Keefe. 17:13, 15 or so seconds down, whatever that works out. 20 seconds, Velo Ronnie's, Victoria, and third, Jeremy Venel coaching, 17:35, only 2 seconds back, so pretty tight. For reference, I think FitLab was 17:30 or 40 or something like that, so I think we finished 5th or 6th or team or 7th team or something, so wasn't great. In the elite grade, times were a little faster, as you'd expect. Wheelworks, super strong drilled team from Wheelworks, 16:01, squeaking over into the 16s. Followed second by Tank Guy Bike Box in 16:19, and third, that Fighton Breedcraft Cottage Lane team, 16:36. Some big time trial units in that team, so the fact that Wheelworks managed to hold them off, pretty impressive. That was Road Race Master 2 and Elite and the TTT results. So next of the Trust House series is in actually a few weeks' time, maybe 3 weeks or something like that. So we're probably going to find form changes a little bit between now and then, and maybe some different guys will be good. I know the FitLab guys are getting better all the time, coming into some form. The new kit we used was good, from Nino Design, and I think the best part of the kit on the day was, actually the bibs were good, the jersey was good, but the skin suit was excellent, so I re-zipped long sleeve, no pocket skin suit I was using in the time trial. Feels very aero, fits very well. It's the right length and everything. Size large for me. We will be opening the web shop for orders in the next week or two for doing an order on fitlab.co.nz, so look out for that. It grinds my gears. I think this week is not so much race related as organisation related. I was kind of like a little bit disappointed at the kind of the tone and the organisation of the prize giving. It's not particularly anyone's fault, but I kind of think that when you organise a race and you do want riders to act professionally when they come up and get photos and stuff like that, be dressed appropriately, it kind of behoves you as an organiser to have things right as well. I sort of think that if you're organising these things, you need to have a structure to the prize giving that's clear and organised. I'll say timeliness and all that was absolutely fine. You need to know clearly who results got what. You can't suddenly decide that you got the results wrong and ask the men in the elite category to decide amongst them who won and come up. I don't think that's cool. And can I just ask that, I mean, I've been in this position, I've been the MC. I'm certainly not saying by any sense stretch of the mark I was perfect, but I always tried to have some form of kind of hype and some sort of structure to affairs, keep it moving along, be clear, know the results as much as you can. That's not necessarily anyone's fault in particular, just a cock up. You know, thank everyone for coming. The basic, thanks for coming. We're going to go through the results. We'd like to thank our sponsors. Important notes from the day. Riders were, you know, crossing the line or they weren't, or blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're going to move on to the results. This is the results for da-da-da. Get it done. And to wrap up, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Next race is such and such on such and such date. We'd love to see you all there. Have a great day. And that to me is kind of how ideally the basic structure of things would move along. Yeah, it wasn't done so great in my view. On the flip side of that coin, you as a rider do have a responsibility to, I mean, it says in the book, if you're going to be on the podium, have your team kit on. I know that sounds reasonably obvious, but the amount of maniacs that came up, and their attitude seems too cool for school. They kind of got their jeans on. They may not have current kit on. You know, just come on, guys. It wasn't wet, so I mean, even if you race in the kit, you don't particularly want to wear it. You don't have another set. Well, come on, put it on. Get up there. Do your bit as a racer. And I sort of feel like when I see, you see these guys who are very talented and do really well. It's often young guys, and they don't last for very long. And this attitude of that they're too cool, and it's cool to be a little bit not really caring, and oh yeah, this race prize giving, I'm too cool for it. I don't want to dress properly, and yeah, man. Well, that's fine. I don't know where this attitude is coming from, or who at school or family or anyone else is suggesting that it's okay to be mediocre or even cool. In my experience, the guys I see do that the most can well be really good riders, but real life catches up to them. You know, just the realities of being professional at anything. This is not just about cycling. It's about how you conduct yourself in everyday life. They're the same people who are too cool to turn up to work on time. They're the same people who are too cool to make an effort and cook dinner on time and, you know, think about their diet. They're the same people who are too cool to be organised and have a warm-up. They're the same people who are too cool for all of that. They last 18 months, decide cycling isn't for them, and they got no longevity. So I just say, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't do any of these things, but it sets a certain tone and makes you look a certain way if you don't. That's what I'd say about that. It's cool to be square, guys. Just look at me. Pretty square. Alright, the next week we're looking forward to the Wellington Masters Cycling Club time trial, the new and upgraded Liverton course in Lower Hutt. Short TT, 24Ks, 4 laps maybe, 2 laps, 4 laps, I think 4 laps. Does have the weird new cycle lane bit in the northern turn, which I have no idea how that rides, how narrow it is, how bumpy it is. Take care on that. It'll be a good chance to test what my real flat FTP is on a time trial bike. I've tested it, I think I know what it is down to the watt. We'll see how that translates on the road, shall we? I'll be wearing the brand new FitLab Nino rear zipped time trial suit. Haven't looked at the numbers. I'm figuring I'm going to get an extra 50 to 80 watts out of that rear zip. That's what I'm going for. I think that's entirely realistic. I'm going for it. Also, it has my man Andrew Jamison, when we were selecting fabrics for these new kits, actually looked at wind tunnel testing, looked at what proteins we're using, and put the kit together based on, I'm not kidding, all of those factors to produce, there's different technical fabrics all around the suit and the road race suit and the road race jersey to make them a little more aero. They're even more aero than our last year's Castelli kit. They're a completely different fabric and fit, but based on the feel, I'm pretty happy with them. This next week, I'll be looking to do well on that if I can. I'll need to get on my TT bike, do some TT drills. That's important if we go TT coming up. Get on that bike, remember how to pedal it, remember that weird position, don't be afraid. Alright guys, I'll leave it there. Thanks for watching / listening. If you'd like a coaching plan from me, go to fitlab.co.nz or email me, steve@fitlab.co.nz. Fasty Fools, brought to you by FitLab, Tailwind Nutrition, and Biomaxa, and Capital Cycles, producing matching Cannondales for me and Lee Campbell. Go and look at the pictures on Facebook. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Thanks for watching / listening to Fast You Fool, brought to you by FitLab, Capital Cycles, Tailwind Nutrition, and Biomaxa. If you'd like to get in touch for a coaching program or testing, you can get hold of me, steve@fitlab.co.nz, or go to fitlab.co.nz. Talk soon, guys.